friends, if you're new to my channel, my name's Nicole and I'm here today with a review of the UK tour of Titanic the musical. Yes, I have the big brochure with the pretty glossy photos in it, and I also got the little program, and I'm wearing my new Titanic the musical t-shirt, which I'm super into. This is a little bit of a weird tangent, but I find that West End shows have a lot less merchandise in general than Broadway shows, with the exception of long-running things like Wicked and Les Mis and Phantom. And I found that UK tours tend to actually have more merchandise than a lot of like limited run West End shows. So I was really excited. I was hoping they were going to have a t-shirt, and they did, so I got this one, and I'm obsessed with it already. I first fell in love with Titanic whenever my undergraduate university, Elon University, did it a couple of years back, and I went to see it. I think it's a beautiful, beautiful show. It's got music and lyrics by Maura Yeston. The book is by, hold on, let me check this, by Peter Stone. And it's just a really beautiful tribute, I think, and a really respectful tribute to the people who died in the tragedy of the Titanic. If you don't know it, it's a really interesting piece because it's very much an ensemble show, and it kind of follows a whole bunch of different characters. First class passengers, second class, third class, and people who work on the ship, people who were involved in the creation of Titanic, and their kind of journey from boarding through to the sinking. I really like that it tries to give you a really wide variety of perspectives, I think, and that it doesn't focus in too much on any one character. I think it makes it actually a much more effective look at the story of Titanic than something, say, like the Titanic film. Not that I'm shading that, because I love the movie Titanic. Now, this production that's currently on tour in the UK, I believe does come from a Charing Cross production. It's directed by Tom Sutherland, who is the artistic director at the Charing Cross Theatre. He also directed The Woman in White, so basically, he's a man who knows how to make me cry. But I like it. No, but seriously, his direction of this is absolutely stunning. I think this production is so, so good. It's so beautiful, and I'm so excited it is going around the country and that lots of people are getting to see it. I would love to see this production come to Broadway or somewhere in America, because Titanic's not been revived in the States, not like on Broadway, in such a long time, and I think it is really overdue a revival. Now, Maura Yeston writes a lot of really beautiful, soaring melodies. There's a whole album, I believe, of Laura Osnes singing Maura Yeston songs, which I love. I'm a big fan of Maura Yeston's music, and I think that so much of the music in this show is just glorious. Now, a lot of it's really interesting because it's quite narrative. Oftentimes, like, you can't even quite tell where one song ends and another one starts. They all kind of blend into each other, but it's not a sung-through musical. There are bits of actual dialogue and stuff, but it's really interesting how the music weaves through it. I wrote down some of my favorite songs. Godspeed Titanic and then the Godspeed Titanic reprise at the end are two of my favorite songs, honestly, and two of the best narrative devices I've ever seen. I started tearing up the moment they went into it at the beginning, and I cried like a baby at the end whenever they went back into it. This musical, I cried a lot. Like, I didn't think I was going to cry that much. I know I'm a crier. Everyone who knows me knows I cry fairly easily, especially at like movies and theater. But I just kept crying. Like, I would think that I had it back together and I'd start crying again. We'll Meet Tomorrow is another one that just tore me apart. It's a really beautiful song. Like, if you've not heard any of the music of Titanic, I'd highly recommend checking that one out. I also really love Lady's Maid, which is about kind of the third class passengers talking about that they're going to America to seek a better life and to kind of take a step up in the world, and like one of the women is talking about how she wants to become a lady's maid, and I think that that makes everything hurt so much more, because you see that this isn't just a fun pleasure voyage for a lot of people on it. A lot of people were on Titanic to try and go start a new life. And I think that that makes it seem all the more tragic with what, I mean, everyone goes into Titanic knowing what's going to happen. The boat sinks, like, big spoiler alert. But I think that that's one of the interesting things about seeing something like Titanic, or I always think about Bonnie and Clyde, which obviously everyone knows that they were killed, is that you go in with this kind of sense of foreboding that, like, the tragedy is coming, and you know it's coming, so it makes even the good things in it hurt a bit. I will say my favorite song in Titanic, the song that's been my favorite since I first heard it back at my university production, is The Proposal / The Night Was Alive, which is sung by Barrett A. Stoker and by I can't remember his name, but the Marconi Telegraph guy. And it's such a beautiful song. I think the Charing Cross, put up a recording on SoundCloud of it, so I'll try and link that down below if I remember. But it's just the loveliest thing. Like, I have had The Proposal stuck in my head since I saw it on Wednesday. David Woodhead, I believe, designed these sets and the costume. The costumes are gorgeous. There's these lovely period pieces. Obviously, it's a really wide range of like period costuming because you have the like uniforms of the people working on the ship and the captain, and then you have like kind of the third class costuming, but then you have these really sumptuous, beautiful gowns worn by the second and first class women, and I was so impressed with that. The set's really interesting because it's quite minimal in a lot of ways, but the way that they've used, like, I mean, I was gonna say steel, but I guess fake steel probably, and like, you know, it's meant to look like metal, and there's like a ship deck, and I just thought it was really nice. It really evoked the idea of being on a ship without seeming like nautical, which I don't think would have been the right thing. And there's an effect that happens towards the end with the set. I don't want to say anything about it because I was waiting the whole time to be like, but does this set do anything? Does it, like, is it gonna move somehow? So I don't want to say what happens, but I was blown away. I was stunned. But I do think that the way that they've staged it and the way that they've designed the set and everything is very tasteful. It doesn't ever feel like it's being played for shock or for, you know, trying to be like impressive per se. It all felt like it was done really nicely, particularly like the loading of the lifeboats I thought was really interesting. I thought that that was really lovely, and I really enjoyed that they make the loading of the lifeboats and that kind of chaotic scene much more of the big impact, frantic, chaotic scene than the actual ship going down, because it does feel a bit more tasteful that way, I think. And I know that I've said tasteful like 45,000 times, but I think that one of the things that's so great about this musical is that it can be seen at first, and my friend Olivia, who I went with, was saying that she was a bit nervous because obviously with something like this where so many people lost their lives, you want to be respectful of what you're making the musical about. And I think that this succeeds 110% in doing that. Like I said, this is very much an ensemble piece, so I have quite a few actors that I would like to talk about their performances. I saw Alexander Evans as J. Bruce Ismay, who was the managing director, I think, of the White Star Line. And Alexander Evans is the understudy for the role, and I would never have guessed that he were not the principal if I had not seen the signs in the lobby saying that he was on. He did such a lovely job. It's actually, I think, one of the most difficult roles in the whole piece, because Ismay is kind of a jerk. He's the one who kept urging Captain Smith to go faster. A lot of people think that he, you know, really contributed to the Titanic sinking because of the pressure that he was putting on the crew and the captain. And it's, you know, it's not an easy role to pull off, but I felt like he did so incredibly well. He has a lovely voice, but also just his acting was there perfectly. There's a lot of really poignant moments, I think, with Ismay towards the end of the show, and I thought that he just did them brilliantly. Kieran Brown is lovely as Officer Murdoch, even if I couldn't stop thinking. On Twitter, he has this duck that he brings around to all the tourist stops that he calls Murdoch, and there were a couple moments in the show where I just thought of that all of a sudden and almost burst out laughing. But I thought he gave a really lovely, very nuanced performance. Again, Murdoch is one of the people who kind of blames himself for what's happening towards the ship when it's actually going down. And I thought that his performance of all of that was really quite wonderful. Louis Cornet, I think that's how you say his last name. First of all, I just want to put out there right now, I'm really sorry for anyone whose name I mispronounce. I am doing my best. But he played the bellboy and like the guy who leads the band. And I just want to say, I thought that he had such great energy. That might sound like a weird thing, but he had a lovely voice, wonderful acting. He was doing a couple of different roles, but I thought that he brought such a great energy to each one. Like, it was very easy to find him on the stage because he was bringing such kind of vitality to the role. There are 3 characters named Kate in the show. They're all third-class passengers going to America. The joke is kind of made that they're all called Kate because they're all from Ireland. But I thought that all 3 of them were fantastic, particularly, I think it's Victoria Sarah, who played Kate McGowan, who I thought was very charming in the role in addition to having a lovely voice. And it definitely made Ladies Maid one of the highlights of the show, as that's kind of the big number that they're involved with. But I thought that all 3 of them were just absolutely fantastic. Claire Machen was playing Alice Bean, and I thought that she was just lovely and exuberant. Alice is a second-class passenger who's kind of obsessed with the first-class passengers. I found it wildly relatable. It reminded me of kind of the suburban mothers, you know, friends of my mom growing up who were super into like People magazine and always knew the latest celebrity gossip, because there's a really neat plot device kind of used where as all the first class passengers are loading, Alice is telling her husband who all of them are, because she's read up on every one of them, and she, you know, knows that Madeline Astor is pregnant and she's just married this much older man and all of that kind of stuff. Claire Marlowe was fantastic as Lady Caroline Neville. It's a really lovely role. She's this second class passenger, but she's kind of this like former aristocrat who's run away from her family, I guess, to be with this man that she's in love with. And I mean, you can see where that's going. And I just thought she's such a lovely soprano, and it was so nice to see her in a role, and just I thought that she was very lovely. I feel like all I'm saying is like this person was lovely and this person was lovely, but truly this entire ensemble was insanely good. I do have to talk about Greg Castiglione. He was in The Woman in White as Count Fosco, which was a fantastic kind of comedic role, although also a very interesting villainous role. And he's playing in this Thomas Andrews, and he's the man who designed Titanic, and I just thought that he was fantastic in the role. I mean, Greg has a fantastic voice, and so Mr. Andrews' Vision, which is a song that he sings as the ship is going down, I thought was so lovely because he sounded great, but also his acting was really nice. But yeah, Greg was just fantastic. And then to wind down my talking about the cast, Niall Sheehy was fantastic as Barrett. I have seen Niall in a couple of shows over the years. I saw him in Les Mis way back in the day, and then I actually got to see him as Chris in Miss Saigon when he was on because Alistair Bremer was away on holiday, and I think that Niall is such a talented performer, and I was so sad that I missed seeing him in the Charing Cross production, so I was so excited whenever he signed on to do the tour to finally get to see him in the role of Barrett. Barrett is probably my favorite role in all of Titanic. It's a really lovely one. He is a stoker, so he works on the ship, but he is planning on going back after he, gets off of the ship's voyage to propose to his girl back home. And so he has this lovely song, The Proposal, and he's got some really nice bits all throughout the piece. I think that Barrett's songs are definitely my favorite, and Niall absolutely does some justice. He's honestly fantastic in the role, every bit as good as I had hoped that he would be. I know that I kind of flew through that, but I was trying to be able to talk about a lot of people without taking up too much time. In any case, I am 110% in love with Titanic, 5 stars, honestly. I may also write a blog post to go with this video. It is the last day of being in Bromley whenever I'm uploading this on Saturday, but they've got a couple more tour stops, I think, in the UK, and then they're going to Hamburg, I believe, which is very exciting. Like I said before, I would really love to see a production of this done in the States because I think Titanic is a really interesting phenomenon and piece of history and thus show and thing for the media because it is such a shared experience between the British and the Americans in a way that very few things are. So I think that makes it really well suited to either country. Let me know if you've seen the Titanic tour, and if so, what you've thought of it, or if you've seen another production. I know there was a production a couple of years back, I think at the Southwark Playhouse as well, and then there was a production recently in Toronto, which I think had some of these same people in it. I'm not sure if it was the same show exactly, but I know some people were in their same roles in that as well. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more reviews and more stagey content coming to you soon, do subscribe to my channel. My family is actually coming to visit very soon, and we'll be here the next 2 Saturdays, but I have pre-filmed videos, so I will schedule them to go up, so you won't be missing out any content from me. I've got coming my top 10 shows that I've seen thus far in 2018, and top 10 shows that I am looking forward to on Broadway this autumn and winter. So do keep an eye out for those. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great week.